Hey everybody, welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to be working on my comic tonight. I'm just going over old pages. I actually had to use an older version of this one page that was like previously finished because I needed to revise a bunch of stuff with the line work. So I'm just kind of redoing some things just to make sure that my whole comic matches up style-wise. But it's coming along. Thanks all the patron Pigpen boys and girls for coming. Hello. Yeah, let's get into it. As always, if you have any questions, comments, anything at all, feel free to drop them in the chat and I will answer as I go along. Hello. So all I really need to do is revise a couple things on these pages, and that's pretty much it. I think I have one more page after this to revise, and then it's on to just doing lettering, which is no big deal. These are the pages that I had done like really early on, like right when I first started this comic and kind of had to put it away because I got so busy. I went through a couple of years of just saving up for a house, and I kind of just put this on the back burner because I couldn't afford to take time away from other work to do this. So we're very close to having this one big thing checked off of my list, which is very exciting for me. Then I can move on to the next stuff. I hope you got here in time for my Adobe rant. I don't really have an Adobe rant. Yeah, we did get a house. Everything's good. Just crushed my soul in order to get a house. What up, video game and anime fans? Yeah, if you all haven't seen it, go support Riley. Go check out his video that he just put out of a wizard experimenting with mind-altering gummies to see through the veil of time. I don't know if you put that video on your channel. Is that the right color? No. It shows the wrong color. You switched to Krita because of me, and I'm glad I did with all this Adobe crap going on. Yeah, for what Krita does, it does it pretty well. So I mean, there's a lot of benefits to it. Yeah, absolutely get a TikTok for this, Wigglewood. Have you ever humiliated, made another fool out of yourself in public or online? If so, how do you move past that? You laugh it off. I mean, honestly, the worst thing you can do is take something super personally and kind of fall in on yourself. That's extra embarrassing. I actually don't really get embarrassed. I do embarrassing shit all the time on purpose. So I've always done that. I just thought it was funny. So no, I never. I've been definitely embarrassed myself. I've shit my pants in a Best Buy before. Didn't bother me none. I just left and threw my underwear away in the bathroom and then went home. And I shit my pants in front of somebody at that Best Buy. I don't know. I don't really get embarrassed. I really honestly believe that the worst thing you can do is call attention to it by being embarrassed. Am I drawing in Clip and then adding values in Krita and coloring in Photoshop for your comics? No, this is Krita right now. I'm doing fills in Krita. I'm doing like soft light and general like adjustment layers and things like that in Photoshop. But for the most part, everything, the drawings and all are done in Krita. This page specifically that you're looking at is an old page. So I didn't ink this one in Krita. This one was done in Clip Studio, but I don't like the way it looks compared to the Krita stuff. So I'm revising it all. The one on the left, the page that you see there, that's a Krita page. I did that in Krita and then did color adjusting and things like that in Photoshop. Yeah. Yeah, I think if you can become bulletproof with shame, then nobody can stop you. Nobody can embarrass you. We need a James Bond who shits himself. I mean, come on. After a certain age, they all do. Have I seen all those photos of Liam Neeson pissing his pants? No, but I like that a lot. I regularly listen to that story he told about that Asian lady talking to him about the earthquake in the hallway of that hotel. That's one of my go-to. It's one of my go-to videos. So funny. Problem with these characters is there's so much detail in them that I always lose track of where I'm supposed to put what. Even though I've drawn these characters multiple times. I still look at it and I'm like, wait, what goes where? I think that's just about everything except for the gold. I gotta do a little bit of gold detail in here. Then I can just start going a little looser on the buildings and the backgrounds. I'm not gonna be super precious about the detail in there as far as colors go. I'm just gonna loosely follow the panel below and just knock in colors here and there. Okay. Do you have any characters you're fond of that you just like keeping in your head, like your own inside joke? Characters that I'm fond of, like pop culture stuff, or just like things that I've come up with? Because I think about like the characters from Steve Lichman all the time. I was thinking about Remo Williams a lot today. Thinking about the Destroyer novels and how funny they are. Dumb off the cuff stuff. I probably think of Kenny Powers lines like once a day. Eastbound and Down is incredible. What are my thoughts on mass exodus on Instagram? Will you be switching to Kara? I'm already signed up on Kara. I'm not gonna like delete my profiles or stop posting on the other places. I think there's like a misconception, I feel. Like I agree with everybody that it's shitty that they're scraping all this stuff. But I'm under no illusion that I'm going to win that fight by leaving Instagram. Like, I get that you're saying something to the company, but they're going to scrape your image already. They're not doing it just on Instagram. They're doing it on like all websites. So it doesn't really matter where you're posting your stuff. All these stupid things are scraping data all over the place. I'm also not really that worried about AI too much. I'm worried in the sense that it's going to replace tons of people. It's going to be horrible for a little while. But I really don't think it'll be forever. Not to the point where it's like replacing a bunch of people forever. Like AI, I don't know. People are going to realize how important the human touch is. It's going to be a thing that people use until it's relegated to a tool. But people are going to try and use it for absolutely everything while they can. And then there's going to be a whole bunch of stale movies and TV shows and everything else they use it for. I mean, I talked about this on like Twitter a little bit, but I just feel like once AI takes over a large portion of everything you do on social media, and you have to constantly worry whether or not something's real or not, then people are going to switch over to in-person dealings and traditional art and stuff that they can put their hands on and trust that it's real. Basically, I just refuse to be cynical on that stuff. I'm not talking about Remo Williams from the movie. I'm talking about Remo Williams from the books. Read the Destroyer books. They're so funny. They're horrible. Horrible in the way that, like, there's definitely a lot of terrible shit said in those books. I was at a lake house or something like that with my family. Like me, my brother, my sister, we like rented this place for everybody to come and stay. And at the lake house, they had a bunch of Destroyer books. And just for the hell of it, one night I couldn't sleep. I was like, I'll just read these. And so I just started reading them, and I was like, holy shit. So I just took them all. I just took them all home with me. No, I never read that, Timbo. What inspired me to draw and paint? Yours is DBZ. I don't know. That's a good question. I've been drawing since I was a little kid, like before I can remember drawing. I definitely had a lot of like influences from all over, whether it's like anime or comics. And like when I was a kid, I used to collect a lot of like Ghost Rider and Spider-Man, Venom stuff, and then I would try and do my best to replicate the drawings in there. And then I also drew my own like Garfield comics when I was a kid, like a lot of them. Like I basically did my own books, and yeah, did that for a while. Yeah, I went through like a bunch of different phases of what I was into. Since you talked on Twitter about the movie Whiplash, at what point did you decide it was time to think about other things besides being devoted to art, such as being a husband and father? Well, I mean, I thought about those things when I became those things more. But in general, I still think of pushing myself beyond my limits because I think it's very important to, you know, see where that is. So I'll see what I can do and then try and exceed that expectation all the time. Like that's why I did like a Steve Lichman 430 whatever page book in 10 months. Like drew the whole comic. I mean, also writing and doing all the lettering and all the, I mean, like laying in all the shadows, drawing all the boxes for the every single word bubble. It's like I love seeing what's possible if I go beyond what I think I'm capable of. So that has never gone away. I just have a better management of my time. Like you're watching me make like a hyper detailed comic right now, you know? It's like I'm still trying to do things that I don't think I'm really capable of, or something that like I haven't really seen somebody like I don't do comics full time, so I thought it's interesting to be like, step into these places where you're not fluent really, and then just do your best, like go all out. What does that look like? And that, you know, that's mostly that. It's like it doesn't mean that like when I became a dad or when I married my wife that I like completely ignore them or something, or like everything changed. Like I just got faster. Yeah, this comic's written by me. It's the same sort of thing as like Steve Lichman. I mean, it's not funny, but the same sort of approach. I gotta turn off the other layers. There's so much stuff in here that I can't really see what I'm working on. Okay, that's the one that I'm working on. All right. I should turn on a light. The sun just set. I'm just in shadow. Thanks for hanging out with me while I pull together all this stuff. I appreciate it. I need the company. What impression are you trying to make out of this comic? Well, it's just a story that's, I mean, it's kind of about how I grew up in some way, but it's more or less like a fairy tale type of thing. And it's a piece of a larger comic that I'm doing called Starvale, which I'll be going after once I'm done with this. And yeah. I don't know if you'll get that message by reading the comic, but that's what it's based off of. I think you'd have to know me. Are there any tools or resources you found helpful during the world building process? I am in this stage right now, and I'm feeling I'm kind of going in circles. I wasn't really trying to do a ton of world building. I basically looked for some idea as to how I would approach the way that the people of this place looked, and then from there I just started kind of improvising. I made a sort of like reference book, like a little tiny, like don't like think this is that crazy. I did like a super loose, very sketchy reference book of all the stuff that was going to be in this. So the general like shape language of the buildings, just what they look like, how they flow and whatever. And I just kind of put together like things that I could look back on as I went through this and be like, okay, that's how the armor looks here. That's how the statues look there. This is how the buildings generally feel and look. It's like, and then from there I would, figure out like a color palette that make the most sense for, what I'm going for. I'm borrowing a lot from like Baroque design, that type of thing. So there's a decent amount of, real world things that I'm kind of pulling from, but for the most part it's just me piecing together a lot of interests I have in terms of, you know, visuals around the world, and trying to make like a new looking world, something cultural feeling that's not exactly something you can put your finger on. It's the same sort of thing I like doing when I work on any sort of like game project. It's like I love piecing together, you know, like aspects of some sort of non-existent culture and story and clothing and architecture and that sort of thing. It's super fun. Are you familiar with or a fan of the NES game Vice Project Doom? Absolutely. Absolutely. It starts with like I think that one starts with the car, and then after that you're on foot with your gun in the city. That game's awesome. I used to play that when I was little. Okay. Yeah, what you're seeing here is earlier pages. This page is page 3 here of the book. You have to do a lot of grand establishing shots so that you know where your characters are at. Will you ever make an art book? Yeah, I'm kind of doing that with this. This comic will be a 23-page comic book, and then the whole backside of the book is going to be a lot of artwork from this particular world. So stuff I've done in the past for like my Star Vale series, as well as all the things I did for this. My old like portrait collection of all those characters, a bunch of that sort of thing. That'll be part of this book. And then after that, I'm going to do whatever the next comic is. That one's going to also have the same sort of deal. It's going to have like a little mini art book in the back. I don't remember what color I used for the shadows in this, so I'm just winging it and putting one in here. Actually, I'll skip that for now. What I should probably do is just go over the inks on this. It's probably the best way to go about it, because I'm trying to match later pages, and I'm kind of like isolating areas, and then I'm going back over them. So I'm taking like my old character drawings here, and I'm just kind of going in and selecting their line color, and then using the brush I use for the rest of the comic. I'm going to just kind of give these characters the same treatment I gave the rest of the comic. A little bit more of like an inked feeling, and rather than like a very small line weight feeling. I'm not crazy about how like little gritty lines look here, so I want to make sure that I address that. Make sure that this all matches the rest of the book. Dan hasn't streamed in a while. Yeah, he's sick. He's pretty sick. I talked to him. I checked in on him a couple times. Talked to him today. But yeah, he's been out of it. Okay, this is this lines. All right. I've been working on a new thing for Diablo 4, working with the Blizzard team, and I think it's the best one by far that I've done for them, and I'm really happy with it so far. I've learned so much working on that. It's crazy. Because I was trying to kind of get back into painting, like just every day, you know? Like I wanted to... I just wanted to be proficient, and I felt like I'd spent so much time doing like comics and different things that I was kind of spread a little thin in like the amount of styles I was taking on, like just learning. So I was like, I'm not very good as just like a solo, like all I do is paint type of thing. And so I decided that with this Diablo job, I was going to fully indulge and see if I could get to the other side and find myself in like a good style with that. And the first one that I did for them, I was like pretty happy with. I liked the composition. It was like a big Lilith painting. And then I did a couple more for them, and they were getting like a little bit better in terms of the execution. But then I did the first artwork for that Construct season. And then from that point on, I feel like I've been making like incremental steps and improving what I'm doing and becoming more efficient. Sorry for burping. I'm just sucking in air over here. But now that I have like a pretty strong grasp on what I'm doing, I'm like, it's finally coming in. Everything's working. It's such a relief. I'm the only one who cares about that stuff, by the way. They're not like pressuring me or anything. Like, this isn't good enough. I just am like, this isn't good enough. So I think about it all the time. And now I feel really good. I feel like I'm finally becoming somewhat of the painter I like wanted to be. Yeah, the frame lines on his ear, it's fine. They won't be like that in the final. I just didn't do a mask and erase the panel or anything. Are these two characters representative of me and Dan? No. What's the playlist? It's just White Bat Audio on YouTube. He has a bunch of playlists that are all royalty free, so it's safe to listen to on here. I'm actually listening to like death metal, but I have it muted for you all. But I like White Bat Audio. I just don't want to listen to the same playlist a bunch. It's so dark in here now. Just staring at this super bright screen. I'm pretty happy though. This comic is so close, and it's starting to look so much better. Once I do all the color adjustments and everything, it's gonna be easy. Can you recommend any comics with a similar art style as this comic? God, I don't know. I don't really read a lot of comics. It's not a similar one to what I'm doing necessarily, but Meta Barons is one I've always liked in terms of just the art style. What's your favorite part of the design process while working on the comic? Designing the pages, doing like the compositions for the panels and everything. That's very fun. What are the names of some of your favorite metal bands? Ooh, a lot. I like Venom. I like Living Death. I like all the obvious ones. Metallica and all that. I've been big into Spirit World. Old like Ozzy I like a lot. Flotsam and Jetsam. Okay, next part. It's coming together. I just need to borrow whatever this color is and start working this up here. I feel like just this one little ink pass that I'm doing is helping so much in like giving depth to the scene. Do you have work with Killswitch Engage again in the near future? No, I haven't worked with them since I was 19, and I am 37. It's been a while. Not for any negative reason. I just haven't worked with them. I want to say back then I was asked to do more. It just wasn't really aligned with what I wanted to do anymore. So I wasn't into doing like more storyboards and things back then. Yeah, Krita is a major part of my workflow. I gotta turn off whatever that pink layer is of wispy pink. Where is that? Underneath you guys. Where is that stupid layer? Please. Maybe it's underneath all this. Wow, this is infuriating. Where is it? Okay, there it is. How do you balance your time between personal projects, studies, and work? I don't really do too many studies, but I just do work for like my video game job that I've been doing for like 3 years, where I'm the concept art lead. I've been doing that a while, and I kind of relegate that job to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which leaves like Monday, Tuesday, and then nights open for client work from other things. And then when I have time and client work isn't eating into everything, then I usually do personal stuff on Monday and Tuesday. And during my work days, I work 10 a.m. to 4, and then I stop, and then if I absolutely have to, I work at night. and I usually stop work at night. I'll like start at like after the kids go to sleep at like 7:30, and then work till about 10. But most of the time I'm free nights. I don't really work too much. Just hang out with my wife and do whatever. Thanks, Riley. Yeah, I'm excited about coloring this. I think once this is all wrapped, it's gonna be a cool page. I've tried to put like a lot into every one of these pages, even though they're not like, there's not like they're finished paintings or something like that, but they're pretty detailed. I'm just hoping that it looks really gnarly when it's all done. Just super intense. The best outcome for this comic is that it makes enough money through funding that I end up being able to fund other stuff. That's really the whole key here, is to enjoy my time working on this project. But you work on something for so long that you just end up going like, God damn, I have so many ideas for the next thing I want to do. I just want to do that next thing. Because I've already done all the heavy lifting with this. Now I just need to finish it. Krita isn't for the whole workflow. I kind of bounce around depending on what I need, but yeah, get a shot of tequila every time I turn off a layer. Well, I'm normally not confused as to where things are, but this is one of like the early pages that I did, so I'm kind of coming into it a little blind. Based on your personal experience as well as the changes in the industry over the past 5 years or so, has your advice regarding building a concept art portfolio changed at all? Not really. I mean, ideas lead, and you want to make sure that you show your ideation process within your portfolio. That's still valid. People, need to see how you are with your execution of your ideas. And it's great to show sketches and things, not just a ton of finished work. Because most of the time you're going to be spending, days just working up ideas and thumbnails and presenting interesting concepts and takes on things that have been done a million times with your own spin on them and whatever. You want to make sure that your ideas are the main standout in these things, and you also want to show that you can execute a final product with some understanding of all the fundamentals and whatnot. But it's mostly going to be like your actual concepts. if the place that's hiring you is worth something, if they know what they're looking for, if they're not just looking for pretty art, because I mean, what, that's for an illustrator. I personally like doing everything. I like all jobs in that regard. Like I like doing concept, I like doing illustration, I like being a part of all the pipelines. It's fun. But yes, if you're making a concept art portfolio, that advice still applies. That looks so much better. How do you celebrate after a long and challenging project? Go out for a nice steak dinner? Uh, a lot of reflection, I guess. I make sure to take it in. I definitely do. I try and celebrate. I think it's really important to reflect on what you're doing. I'm not a big fan of that idea of like the artist who's just like on to the next thing. I don't have time to relish in this thing. That it's like, no, you need to take time to at least enjoy for a moment what you've done. I find that like even saying that makes me uncomfortable. I make myself do it. I just go, okay, you have to enjoy this. Like take a breath, let yourself be okay with feeling good about this. I've been very conscious of that. I had heard a interview, or not an interview. I had heard a speech. It was a graduation speech from Neil Gaiman, and he had said that about uh, some advice he got from Stephen King, that when you're having success, like take a step back and enjoy it. And he was saying it was the best advice that he never followed. So try not to make that mistake. I'm doing some short stories with my characters before I start writing a whole series with them. Do you have any advice for writing longer stories? Uh, Honestly, I think like starting with your short stories is going to be super helpful, and then building that muscle, like understanding like how to keep attention, how to just kind of link together a narrative. Then you can kind of start to put together longer content. Like for me, like don't take this as like gospel. I'm not like some perfect person making things. But for me, like doing like bigger books, it's about like arcs of characters. I try and think of like, I mean, this is advice that I've gotten from real people, not just like my bullshit. Uh, but I try and think about like the arc of a character's story. Just make sure that you understand them, that you know where you're going with it, and kind of like how it's going to build and all that. What do you hope for your character to kind of like find along the way, and also let yourself be surprised by things, and use basic like storytelling uh tactics of like you know, if this happens, but then this happens, therefore this happens, that whole thing. And then make sure that you are surprised by your own story. Let it become something that's not super formulaic, not like 100% following, you know, a perfect structure. Because if you're not surprised, then the reader's not going to be surprised. And then other advice is really just taking like a lot of like individual notes of, like, you kind of know where your story's going, and to some respect of like, oh, I'd like to do this. Write like little vignettes, and, you know, maybe make it like an exercise to like piece aspects of your story together over time and make like an interlinking narrative. Like for me, when I was kind of uncomfortable with storytelling, I would do that. I would focus on like scenes along a structure. I'd be like, okay, I kind of know where I'm going. I'm just going to make the scenes that I feel like go between these parts of the story. And it was like a comfortable way to kind of get into just like, okay, I'll focus on like writing character and character dialogue and that sort of thing. And then I'll try and build up a story along the way based off of that, and like other characters' reactions, and try and put myself in their shoes, and what would I do if somebody said this versus this, whatever, and just kind of move the story along with basic like anchor points of where I know the story will eventually go. And then I kind of let that be like a vague guide to where we may end up. And then once you have that whole weird vignette pieced together story, I'd go back through and then do like a second draft that kind of links them all, and then a third draft that actually makes it readable. And then you just tell people the story, and sometimes it helps to just kind of like read it out loud. And I do that a lot, where it's like I can, even like in the moment when I'm reading it, I'll be like, ooh, this is a mistake. So I'll start to like improvise and correct things as I read, because I know that I'm going to lose attention on like a certain part based on like just how I'm feeling while I'm telling it. I'm like, okay, it felt okay when I wrote it, but now that I'm like reading it out loud, I can tell this is going to be like really cringy. So what if it were like this? Because this feels more natural when I'm speaking. So I'll like alter certain aspects of it that way. But I mean, again, the best thing I can say is just repetition. It's like you do these things over and over. You put it in front of somebody who's going to give you honest feedback. And then over time, you start to kind of like find your own voice. And just like art, you know, it takes forever. And I spent about 5 years just going back and forth writing like TV stuff, and over and over and over again with a showrunner who was just kind of giving notes all the time and teaching Dan and I about how to really like write scenes and things. And eventually started to get some sort of fluent thing going on with writing, and it became more natural over time. But yeah, write a lot. That's the best advice. It's going to take forever. Have I had a story that was too scary? No, but that's a funny thought. Oh, hey, son, what's up? Son was literally just at our house earlier today, getting the shit beaten out of him by our kids here. Hey Dave, is showing a sketch enough to demonstrate the thought process? Could you give an example? Yeah, no, you could do like, all I'm really saying is like show your honest process, like show your really loose sketches, show your thumbnailing stuff, show the refined version of those sketches. Basically like show somebody each step of your process. That's really all I'm getting at. And by sketches, what I mean is like in the beginning, like show a bunch of different, just honestly show like your different versions of the thing that you're presenting. Be like, this is what it could have been. Here's like 6 different things, and then I chose this one, and this is the one I brought to final. Hello. Hope this isn't too boring for you all. I just need to use this time on the stream to do color fills and fly through this. I'm so ready to move on to the next thing. Not like I'm sick of this, but I just want to do something else. All right. And I get to do a similar ink pass over this one too, which should bring it to life in a similar way, which is nice. Were you particularly good at any video game? I feel like I'm generally pretty good at most games. I've never had a problem. Um, let's see. I can beat Double Dragon 2 for Nintendo in like, a sitting. Obviously, that's how you have to beat it, but I think I can still do it. And that's pretty hard. Nintendo games are notoriously brutal. But no, I'm good at I don't know, a decent amount, I guess. I don't really have any problems. I like all the Dark Souls games. I like Bloodborne, all that. What was that super hard Ninja Gaiden game back in the day? Not really back in the day, I guess, but back enough. The one on the Xbox that was like pretty crazy. You remember when that was hard? Before people had like any of the Souls games? Or, that whole new genre. Yeah, Ninja Gaiden Black or Gaiden. What do you think of Kara? Do you think it'll stick, or will it be a fad like Threads or Blue Sky? I think it has a better chance of sticking, just because it's more niche than those two. But it's really going to come down to how they stay alive. Uh, I honestly think, like, it's the same problem that every social media app has. How do you make money with this? So if they can find a way to make some sort of money, then maybe they'll survive. I'm just being realistic. If you care, people are watching this. I'm not shit talking you. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. I think you can do it because it's enough of a niche thing. It's definitely serving a need that people have within this community. So I could see it doing very well. But we'll see. Once they fix all the bugs and figure out some sort of funding. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it's already been basically an hour. And I'm still doing this. No, I thought for sure I'd be further along. It's okay. A lot of the things that you're seeing in what I'm doing right now, I'll have separation. So like how the buildings all look like they're kind of cramped together. I'm going to put like atmosphere between things and make it so that there's space and more depth. What's the longest you took a break from drawing? Usually just trips. Like if I go on vacation somewhere, I'll take like, a month off of like serious drawing, where it'll just be me kind of like sketching around here and there. But I have no problem stopping drawing. I can just turn it off and just not do art. It's fine. I'm not one of these people that like loves it so much that I can't live without it. Like I can aggressively chill out. No problem. I need to put on some other music for myself that you will not even hear. Do you think Kara will become a new DeviantArt? And when I say that, I mean a website where artists can build a name and network with other professionals in the concept or comic industry. I don't know. That's kind of a tricky one because I like the one thing that I'm not crazy about with art specific sites is that you only are basically showing your work to other artists, which I guess it can be good if you're just looking for like industry work. But if you're looking to expand and be in front of real people in the world who aren't artists who actually buy and consume artwork, then I don't know if it's something that you would want to like wholly dedicate yourself to, just because the exposure isn't super great. But in terms of it being like a, like a type of art station website or alternative, I see it like that, with some social aspects where people can like communicate, share things. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I guess if it gets enough of a reputation, it can become that, where people go there to hire people and then see like a plethora of artists. You've been watching this stream for months. You're excited to get your hands on this comic. Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited to be on the other side of it and doing the next project and seeing if there's a demand for this kind of thing. It'd be great. I'm not betting on it. I have no expectations. If it does well, that's fine. If it doesn't sell one copy, that's fine too. I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it for the love of the game. Do I miss the time of Crimson Daggers? I don't miss it. I look back on it, fondly. I have good memories of that time, but I wouldn't want to go back then to, not for where I am right now. I wouldn't want to go back and be struggling again. The only thing that I look back on for like that time, like the Crimson Daggers study groups and things online, having a big community. The only thing I look back on with any sort of wish would be that I wish that when I had done it, there had been any of the funding things that exist now, or like Patreons or anything at all, because that would have made it something that I could have continued to do, because I really wanted to do it, but there was no way to make an income doing it at the time. There was like, you couldn't get ads, and this was like back in, I think we found out on this stream that the first one of the Crimson Dagger streams was around like 2007 or something like that. So this was like before anybody was streaming. There were no streamers. That wasn't a thing. It was just early days, and it was really cool, but then just never something you could sustain without taking a massive hit. And if there had been all of the platforms that exist now, it would have been really cool to see like what I could have made of all that. But I have no regrets in terms of, what it did for me and everybody and where I'm at now. And yeah, because for the time it was really cool. I like that approach of doing a body of work for the love, and I can guarantee you one thing: you definitely will sell one copy, because I am for sure buying this one available. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not doing this for any audience, and I'm not doing this for any sort of expectation of profit. I don't care. I have money. I'll be okay. If this doesn't work, that's okay. I'm doing things that I want to do. Money is just an added benefit. And I am just in a great position right now to be able to do things I want to do. I mean, the way that it gets funded anyway is Patreon. I mean, all the beautiful people who've stuck with me over the years on there. You've made me feel more and more confident that I can do things that I want to do without needing permission of anybody bigger. You know, giving me some sort of funding or some sort of publisher or anything. So I appreciate you all sticking with me. When you are planning the composition for each panel and you know it's going to be busy with details, you approach characters in backgrounds like shapes. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say that this is like a great example of how to compose a comics page. I think this page is a little too busy. I got better as the pages went on. But yes, that's generally how you'd want to do it. And then I just kind of think about it in terms of like readability. What are my hobbies outside of drawing and getting buff? Well, getting in shape is a new thing for me. So, well, at least I'm getting back into shape. But outside of that, I mean, I want to get back into like music. I would like to do that. I'd like to make music again. I'd like to do little animated shorts. Um, I think like all the little side projects I do just within drawing technically are like hobbies. Like, you know, like writing has become less of a hobby and more just a part of the job, but I considered that a hobby, you know, for a while. But I like skateboarding. I'd like to do a bit more of that. I mean, that's kind of part of getting in shape. I want to do that again. As I skateboarded for a really long time before I did art, and I did it like through my 20s, and I really only slowed down when I was in like my mid 20s or so. And I would just like to not, you know, not be like dropping into vert ramps or anything, but just casually skateboard around and do more technical stuff. That would be fun. Like my Samus video? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, good night, D. Jones. Do you still do movie poster 24-hour jobs? If not, would you go back or did you hate it? It was cool, and at the time when I did it, there was like a decent paycheck in it, but it was so stressful that really like that the crazy crunch that you'd have to do on that, the hours just didn't make any sense. It's like having to be on call that often was just too much. So I just don't like doing that anymore, and I wouldn't do it again. That part of like marketing is just a little too soul crushing for me. Okay, cool. I think this is almost the last bit of these buildings. There's so many layers of fucking buildings. And this isn't even the end. We still have to do shadows and highlights. Let's do it. I just got to hammer through. Do you have any recommendations about the process of how to design a character? I have simple rules that I follow. I tend to focus on just like three aspects of design to use within a character. So trying not to overcomplicate with like too many different elements. So more or less focused on keeping the theme pretty simple of the character, giving them a strong silhouette, and I try not to deviate in the same like rule of threes idea. I try not to deviate from like three colors. You know, obviously they can have range within the character, but I try not to implore more than three colors into the color scheme. And generally speaking, that leaves it a bit more like readable. Okay. This looks like such a mess. I'm going to need to separate everything with the atmosphere to make it all read. Okay. All right. All right, now for shadows. Do I know or like Olivier Leroy? I don't know how you say that. I've never heard of him. does a comic called Requiem. Cool. Yeah, I mean, if it's like this sort of thing, I'm definitely into finding more people who are doing like weird comics. This isn't the final shadow color. I'm not exactly sure what color I was using before. So I'm just using a color and then I'll fix it in Photoshop. I think it's a little dark or just a little bit abrasive for me. I thought you started doing line art to stop yourself from over rendering, but now your line art is super rendered in detail. Full circle. It doesn't take me that long. Like the page on the left there, it took me 4 hours to ink. I just got faster. So I was trying to speed things up to be like more efficient, but I'm not really worried about it. Not anymore anyway. It more or less looks very detailed. Like the one that you're looking at right now on the screen, this one is very detailed because it was an early page that I did. The one on the left here is a lot of implied detail. So it looks detailed, but it really isn't that detailed. Has any client ever been a creep, like spend the night? No, I've never had a client at my house, I don't think. That's not true, actually. When I was a kid, there was this group, Power Glove, that hired me when I was 16 to do their album cover. And I did that, and they came out, and I was like, you guys should come hang out with me and my friends. And my friends are all pretty crazy, and I don't think that they like really understood what I was doing because I was still at like this weird age where I was trying to like impress them by being crazy, and I didn't know that like they wouldn't want that. So I took them with my friends in like a truck, and we just like blasted through the woods, like just in the woods in a truck, like hitting jumps and stuff. And they're just like, "Holy shit, what is it?" They ended up having a really good time, but they were definitely surprised that that was like my idea of, let's do this level. It was gonna be awesome. Come out, it'll be fun. But that wasn't very creepy. It was just funny. And that was more me being way wrong in my judgment. I think the hardest part of design is iterating and avoiding all the cliches. How do you keep it original? Um, I don't know. I mean, I think that comes down to the individual. It's like I have all these things that I'm a fan of, and I'm very nerdy about like all these really specific kind of design things that I don't really see that often. So I feel like I'm more or less like itching to do all of these ideas that I feel like I have so much. I feel like I can bring so much to the table with like genre stuff and whatever, and like I just feel like I have a voice for that sort of thing, and I more or less have like a, at the moment at least in the past, well, I mean, since I was like a kid, I just always felt like I had too many ideas and there was not enough time to do everything, and that was more frustrating than anything else. At first, it was frustrating to like try and get the ideas down on paper the way I wanted, because you know that whole disconnect that's that every artist kind of struggles with. It's like, how do you bring that to life? But over time, just through like gaining more skill and being able to really produce the things that I see in my head more accurately, I've kind of I've kind of come around to being able to execute a lot of those things, at least like close enough to how I was picturing them or envisioning them. Like whenever I do Skull and Shark, which is on the list of the things I'm knocking out, it goes this. Probably Steve Lichman is the next thing that will be published right after this. And then Starvale will probably follow. But I'll be working on Starvale the whole time I'm doing Steve. Oh, I couldn't tell you what brushes I use from that Rutkowski set. I'm not exactly sure. At least not by name. This panel shouldn't need all this work. God damn. You want me to submit my ghost stories to the Belief Hole podcast? I don't know what that podcast is. I'll give it a listen. Belief Hole. Yikes. Okay. I think for my own sanity and to not mess this up anymore. I mean, I feel like it's fine right here, but I don't want to like push it beyond this until I have a little bit more energy. But I think I'm gonna stop here for tonight. I'm almost at the 2 hour mark, and then I'll finish the rest of this off stream because it's not much left. I'll round out this couple panels because this top one needs a bit of work. It's such a big establishing shot that it's just gonna need a lot of love, and separating everything and making sure that it all reads correctly is gonna take some time because it is so busy. You can't do that. Uh, could I do a hand stream where you see me working? Yeah, if I can. Well, thank you all so much for hanging out with me. If you want to help support, Patreon as always is below. And yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up so soon. So soon. I have one other page after this that I want to do like a once over on just to make sure it's good. And then that's it. And then that's it. So I'm happy. But yeah, thanks for hanging. And I'll see you next Thursday as always. Appreciate you all. Hope that you have a great night. Sending you my love. Goodbye.